A New York judge has agreed to free former IMF chief Dominique Strauss-Kahn. Now, the judge set $1 million bail and ordered the 62-year-old under house arrest. He was indicted today in connection with an alleged attack on a hotel maid. Time to let the Willis watchdogs out. Clint David is a legal analyst with David, Goodman, and Madole in Dallas. Ben Ferguson is a radio talk show host in Memphis. And Deneen Borelli is a fellow with Project 21 and a Fox News contributor. Deneen, let's start with you. What do you make about this story? He's out on $1 million in bail, and apparently he's going back to Rikers right now.
Yeah, well, he made the right call to step down, but certainly innocent until proven guilty.
Step down from his job at the IMF.
Yes, that's correct. But let the investigators do their job, do their due diligence. And one thing they should keep in mind, no one is above the law. I don't care what your title is, where you come from, what your background is. No one is above the law, so let the investigators do their job. This woman was very brave, I think, coming forward. If this is, everything that happened, she was very brave to come forward. This is very tough.
I think so, too. Well, Clint, to you, so $1 million bail, but this guy has a lot of dough. You know what I mean? He makes $420,000 a year as the IMF chief. Prosecutors say he's got $2 million sitting around. Another big account here in the U.S. with 7 figures in it. This is a man who is very, very well-to-do.
No doubt, but they've taken other precautions, too. There's going to be electronic surveillance, a guard, an additional $5 million bond. But I tell you, this has to be an unprecedented fall from grace. I mean, you've got a man here who one day is one of the most powerful men in the world. He's on his way to meet the German chancellor. Next thing you know, he's in Rikers Island jail accused of attempted rape. I mean, I love his lawyers. The first position is he wasn't even at the hotel. He was at lunch with his daughter. Then it's, oops, okay. If there was sex, it was probably consensual. These allegations are disgusting. As you mentioned, he's been indicted. That says there's significant evidence. He's got a long, hard fight ahead of him.
He does. You know, Clint, the French say we're just puritanical. What do you make of that?
I'm sorry, Jerry, say again?
I said the French are saying we're just puritanical and we're prudes and we don't know how things work.
Well, I will tell you, I lived in France for half a year, actually, in college, and I will say it's a bit of a different system over there. They tend to sort of look away from the sort of dalliances, but when you're talking about criminal rape, they just refuse to believe it, and they're sure it's a political setup. I read it, it's over 60% think it's a setup. But it's just ludicrous. This man has been accused of a very, very serious crime.
Ben, what do you say?
Yeah, 2 things here. One, I don't care what the French say about what we're doing over here. The evidence looks like this man should be at least prosecuted. Yes, you're innocent until proven guilty, but they say, oh, this man's like a Sarkozy. He's a playboy in a sense, and you can't come after him for those reasons. Again, I don't care what they think. Second of all, this guy's got a lot of money, and if you can make your bail, you can make your bail, but I still think the guy's getting somewhat a little bit of special treatment. I don't think the average rich guy could get away with what he's getting away with because he does have such a big name in the world.
Yeah, he's an elite, and he should not be, getting the special treatment. Absolutely not.
Well, I know the story is outraging everybody, but here's a story that might make you happy. Our government is enforcing a new language. It's called Plain English. The Plain Writing Act takes into effect in October and forces government documents to be easily understood by the public. The act has 11 ways you cannot write documents, but some argue you can't legislate grammar or clarity. Ben, what do you say?
I love the way I actually read the bill, and the bill has the exact stuff in it that they say they want to get rid of. So it's pretty funny to me when they're using all this gobbledygook to say what you can and cannot do. And I want to say, is this not the perfect example of how screwed up our government is? Here's the deal. They can write things however they want to. Just lower my taxes and leave me alone in small business. I'll call it an even trade.
Deneen?
Yeah. Well, I think the focus should be on removing unnecessary and costly regulations. If you look at the EPA, for example, they're regulating greenhouse gas emissions, which will raise energy costs and result in job losses. So really what the focus should be is on the consequences of these regulations and not the language. The language is going to be whatever it is they decide to do.
Well, Clint, what do you say to that? Is it not the language? Is it really, should we be worried about the content more?
Well, I will say this, perhaps worry more about the content, but I just have to say I'm deeply offended by this statute and I think it's a horrible idea. Do you know how many of my legal brothers and sisters wordsmithed all of these wonderful statutes, rules, and forms?
Is that what you guys call it, wordsmithing?
then wordsmithing, of course, and then you have to pay lawyers to go out and fight over what all this nonsense means.
Right.
This is a sad day for the legal community.
But you can't tell what they're talking about. You read it and it
That's
makes
the point.
Yeah, I guess it is. That was well said, sir. All right, we got one more here. Well, there's something strange and it don't look good, at least for one New York City firehouse. The famous firehouse from the movie Ghostbusters may be closing its doors for good. The firehouse is one of 20. Mayor Michael Bloomberg, you can blame him, is looking to close due to budget cuts. Ben, say it ain't so.
Look, I like the Ghostbusters. I'm pretty sure it's at my parents' house on a VHS or an 8-track. It was a great movie. I haven't used it lately, but if it's a budget cut and they don't need it and it's not an issue of security, then shut it down. Don't save it just because it's famous. If the people need that firehouse open to protect them and they're saying, hey, we're not going to get the same services you close it, then I say keep it open, but don't do it just because it's a place where a movie was shot.
Well, there you go, being logical. Deneen, what do you say?
Well, I have some advice since you mentioned Bloomberg. You know, he's got a war on salt and sugary products.
And butter.
And
don't forget the butter.
Yeah, and he used tax dollars to pay for his war on those products. I say that money could have been used to save some of these firehouses.
Well, there you go. Okay, well, we got to go. Clint, Ben, Deneen, thanks so much for helping us out today. We'll be right back with my 2 cents more on why